Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be flying the Kodiak again. This time I've got my own custom bird aviation livery that I'm looking forward to flying. And we'll be doing a village resupply run with Skypad. I'll just bring it up here and let's get this job started. First I'll go in here and load the aircraft so we actually get visible passengers. And then we'll begin the job on Skypad. Just move the camera here so we can actually see us. Bring up the weight and balance. I'm going to go for 68% fuel. It's should be more than enough for this flight, but I'm going to go more on the conservative side. I'm still getting used to the Kodiak. Let's say co-pilot of 90. I did notice in my first impressions that the co-pilot doesn't seem to show up, but hopefully these other passengers do. There's one of them. I'll go for 70 there, maybe 60, and then 60 again. Relatively low number of passengers. Center of gravity is within the limits. I'm going to go ahead and add maybe 40 kilograms into the back. Another 60 into the front of the cargo pod. And then 20 into the bay 3 of the cargo pod. I'll have nothing in bay 2. Center of gravity is within limits. There we go with our visible passengers. Go ahead and pull up Skypad. And let's get this flight underway. Click begin.
Hello, Clear Sky Pilot. It's Roman.
And load all of their
Remember that
jobs.
show, Worst Place to Be a Pilot? Well, you're about to live it. We were hesitant to accept this contract due to pilot safety concerns, but we gotta keep the lights on, so here we are. These supply runs are vital.
Paid
to
out
Papua New Guinea's remote
$250
villages.
to Bob's Aero
We're
Service.
essentially their lifeline to the outside world. Don't be weirded out by some of the cargo you'll be hauling. It may feel random, but if it's needed, then it's
All
our job to
loaded.
get it there.
Alright, go up here and plan flight for my. I'll set up my first leg on this little EFB thing here. I'll go ahead and just select the first leg here. APP. You do a quick control check. Yep. Here's my little purple and red bird aviation livery that I made. I'll go ahead and turn off this Skypad again. Alright, let's get going. Turn on the master. I might program in a flight plan. I'll get it started first. Get the yoke and hide first. Turn on the fuel. Turn on the fuel shut off. Further cut off and idle. Fuel, ignition and starter. Waiting for 13%. Introduce the fuel to low idle. We have ignition, ITT rising, and G is rising, so not a hot start or a hung start. Self-sustaining, turn off the starter, turn off the igniters, and fuel pump standby. Alternator on, generator on. And avionics bus and auxiliary bus. And on the air conditioners. unfeather the prop. Turn the intake to bypass. Now one thing that's very useful about the SkyPad, it lets me see how high the tallest mountain is for this leg. I've got 11,000 feet for the tallest mountain. I'm going to go ahead and climb up to 12,000. Start setting that in. To my altitude, and I'm going to go ahead and start programming my GPS as well. YPY. One of the best things about that's interesting, I was able to actually go into the VNAV profile there. That's new. Obviously I've updated it. One of the best things about the G1000 NXI from working titles is that when you bring up this screen, normally you have to scroll through here to select your identifier for the airport, which is what you do in real life, but it's a whole lot easier to do when you're using this in real life than what you are in the simulator. So what they've done is they've allowed you to click on here, and then when that dot is blue, then you can just type it in using your keyboard. Pop in data. Alright. Get going. Guess it's programmed. Go ahead and zoom in so I can see the taxi chart. Zoom out on this one to 5 miles because that's where I like it. Go ahead and set 20 degrees of flaps, and to stop the not auto rudder. I've noticed with this aircraft the rudder seems to lack, it's a bug, because I can't see the real aircraft doing it, but the rudder seems to lack authority to counteract the P factor from the engine. So when I'm climbing with flaps, you get around 70 knots and you no longer have enough rudder authority to keep flying even straight and level. It does have a big engine, so I expect a lot of rudder, but I'm hitting the stop and it's still turning left and going uncontrollable. So the fix that I've found for it is you find a hotkey to the auto rudder toggle, and then you just turn it on and then straight back off again. It seems to fix it. Mine is Control Shift U, and then I'll turn it off again. Hopefully that's fixed it. It did on the last flight, so hopefully it's done on this one. Now, what's the best way of turning out here? I think maybe turning left and going through these guys even though they don't get out of the way. In real life they'd be getting out of the way. Taxi light. Release the parking brake. Pull left, and I'll apply some differential braking as well. There we go. That's a pretty good turning circle. They went under the wingtip. I didn't even have to worry about they having to use the fact that the simulator doesn't model them as crashes. Alright, and while we're taxiing, I'll keep dialing my altitude. I said 12,000 feet. Just double check on the map which way I'm going. I'm going east, so I want 13,000. Or northeast to match the hemispherical values. Now, is there a windsock? Yeah, I'll head down this way, take off from runway 32. 13,000 feet is set. And I'm going to enable flight director and then hit the go around button. That'll give me an initial pitch up altitude, attitude on the flight director. All clear on final, strobe lights on. And pulse lights on. I'll turn the taxi lights off, I don't need it. Go for high idle. Yeah, lined up with the runway. Heading of 320. I'll engage heading mode. And I'm going to start powering up. Now at this temperature, I'm going to do this based off the NG. The table chart they give you for the torque, I've found it tends to redline the NG, so I'm just going to take this up manually and make sure I don't redline either the NG or the temperatures or the torque. And I'm way off the center line apparently. 97, oh, I'm way past the takeoff speed as well. I'm supposed to rotate at 60 knots. And there we go, that no longer requiring excessive amounts of right rudder there. And we're climbing away, start retracting the flaps slowly. I'm going to go ahead and engage the autopilot now. Put in some right rudder trim. Oh, a bit much. There we go, now it's nice and centered. So retracted. I'm going to engage flight level change and set an airspeed of 101 for best climb speed. We'll zoom out on the MFD here. Make it 15 so I can see a bit more of the terrain. And I'll start turning my heading bug to start intercepting this nav course. Go ahead and increase the power a bit. I did find it. I didn't get to full power before I took off, so I'm going to increase it now. That'll be a good intercept heading. I'm the GPS nav mode. Yep, so I'm just white on your PFD there, so it's going to activate when it gets within the specified criteria. And go ahead and start reducing the prop now. I'm going to use 2000 RPM for today. Turn off the inlet bypass, and I'll turn off the pulse lights. It's my fuel flow, 370. That'll be alright for the measurements are all still good. I might actually turn this transponder to altitude. It should have changed by itself. The G1000 usually changes by itself, but this one obviously didn't. Make sure it actually captures the GPS. So on the MFD with synthetic vision, these wings indicate your attitude, as you're probably already aware if you're watching this video. This green circle thing here is indicating where you're actually flying. That's your flight path. That'll move around depending on the wind and other factors, but it's showing you where you're actually going. So I'm looking at basic terrain clearance if you're using this, which in real life you can't rely on this. You have to use your maps as well. But if that's above the terrain, you're going to clear it. If that's below it, you're going to hit it. And you would have seen the GPS turn green there, which means it's captured. The aircraft will now start turning to line up with that magenta line there shortly. Now I'm looking at the airport that I'm flying to, trying to see which runway I want to land on. I've got 04 and 22. Now 04 is in that direction, 22 is coming back this way. Just looking at the mountains, I think 04 would be the best one. 04. Yeah, it's just looking at mountains around. There's mountains, raising terrain there. This might be a two-way airstrip, it might be one. So I'm going to try for 04. She's going to come in about this angle. Depending on how the terrain is, I might have to overfly and come around for 22, but we'll see. Of course, in real life, you'd know all this beforehand, but this is a simulator. And I'm simulating this drop-off. I'll go ahead and program that in. Another nice thing about it is that the G1000 NXI allows you to select a straight-in approach visual. It doesn't give you obstacle avoidance, but it does give you the ability to get some sort of a flight class in. A flight guidance. Now I'm going to make the choice, because I'm still over some quite high terrain. I'm going to make the choice to descend later and therefore descend steeper. I'm going to go ahead and go into here, and I'm going to try out this new flight path angle change. So let's get a 4.5 degree flight path angle. Actually, I'm going to leave that because that's probably for the approach. That's 4.5 degrees. So it is trying to do some obstacle avoidance in the approach, but you can't rely on it. That's just a GPS, and it's usually using just the default 3-degree approach. It's guidance only. Definitely wouldn't be doing that in IFI. It looks like I'm getting somewhat clear of this terrain. So I'm going to start the descent manually now. Zoom in on the map slightly. Gonna go vertical speed hold for 1,000 foot a minute descent, I think. Now the airport is at 1,900 feet. I'm gonna say 2,900 on here, see how that goes. I'll turn on the pulse lights now. And I'll start slowing down because I did descend late. So I want a steeper angle so I can either increase my vertical speed or slow the aircraft speed over the ground down. I'm gonna do both. VNAV is saying I would need to descend at over 2,000 feet a minute. And engage the inlet bypass again. I'll zoom in on the map even more. Can't actually see the airport here, or I can't pick it out anyway. Maybe in there somewhere. Let's see. Airspeed is holding. Try 2,000 foot a minute descent, see how it goes. Real life I would probably have turned off up this way and then come in. For passenger comfort. The nice thing about simulator passengers is that they don't complain when they're about their ears hurting when you descend steeply. Suspend it. I am way too high to actually complete this approach. I'm going to go ahead and take actually I'll go back into heading mode. Turn up north for a little bit. There's the airport airstrip right there. Turn. You got 300 for now. I'm just getting descended down, and by doing a loop, I'm allowing the aircraft to descend further. To come back around and shoot the approach. Heading up 220. Look at all these mountains in PNG. Imagine trying to build a road over all these. Yeah, turn left again. Got back to 1,000 foot a minute descent, I think. I'm getting a lot closer to the airport, to the profile I want. You can see the terrain starting to appear on the relative terrain here. I think bringing in the power slowly since I've just decreased my rate of descent. Just to maintain speed. Now it does still say that I'm high, but I'll be alright with that. Go back into nav mode and let the aircraft line me up with the runway since I've managed my terrain separation, I think. May well still be landing on a downhill. We'll find out, won't we? That it? I think that's the airport. That might be a downhill. Bring the prop up to full forward. Disconnect the autopilot. I'm going to fly it myself. Reduce the power. And trim up. Gotta get it below 138. Flaps 10. I'm still way too high, aren't I? Ah, there's too many mountains in the way. I'm gonna go around and fly this manually, and I'll come in the other way. The flaps back up. Start turning left. Use this mountain as a bit of a reference. I fly towards it and I'll slow down as I'm flying towards it and extend my flaps. Speed check below 138, flaps 10. Speed check below 120, flaps 20. It's passing the overshooting the final turn slightly. Now for flaps full it's 108 knots. $500 feet, come on. Not way too high and way too fast again, so go around for attempt number 3. Power is coming up. I'm not going to climb very much today. Recheck, flaps 10, and flaps up. Bit of right rudder to compensate for that power. Turn around to the left. I'm going to make a lot wider turn this time. Gonna do some rudder trim to help with all that power that I've added. Yeah, trim down a bit. Don't want to keep climbing. I'm gonna fly around this valley. I'm gonna go ahead and start extending flaps now, I think.
500.
Below 138, flaps 10. Don't want to keep climbing, because I keep raising the nose slightly too far. It's over there somewhere. And there's the mountain that I'm going to use for lining up. Pretty sure it's this one. Start my turn, reduce the power slightly, speed check below 120, flaps 20. A little bit of trim as the aircraft slows down. I still can't see that airstrip at the moment. Speed check below 108, going to flaps full. Okay, preset for centering the view isn't working. That's weird. Oh well. Line up with the runway, decreasing the power. Can I see it? Where is it? Over there. That's not gonna work. Guess I'll have to fly around this valley and come in the other side. This is a tricky approach. Oh. Trying to reset my view and it just took me to the circuit breaker view. There's the airport. I think I'll get it this time. This would not work in real life, but in real life you would know the airport a lot better than what I do when I'm flying into it in the simulator. Alright. And touchdown, reverse thrust. Good thing about this aircraft is it has a very good landing roll. And takeoff roll for that matter. If this was a caravan, I would have been in the trees at the other end, or at least the simulated default caravan. Park it right here. Turn off the pulse lights. Just leave it out, turn the bypass back to normal, feather the prop. Come on. Now retract the flaps. Turn off the avionics bus and the auxiliary bus and shut off the fuel. Wait for the ITT to drop below 200. And shut off the master. And I'll open my door. I'll go over here to Skypad. The conduit, and I'll deliver my cargo. I hope you enjoyed this short flight. Please tune in to the next video. I'll be doing the next leg of this flight.